morning, dear people of the internet, and welcome to the most important workshop of your life, wife training. Because life experience and going through life in general isn't good enough to be a wife, apparently. Now, you might be thinking, Aidan, I don't want to be a wife, and you're too gay to be even teaching prospective wives how to be a good wife. But too bad. Today we're going to sit down and learn how to be a good wife. Before we get started though, I have this delusional idea that my YouTube channel could help me afford college. So if you can help me with that, it would be great. The only requirement is subscribing and watch my videos, which is completely free and very helpful. So thank you for that. Now let's get started. Surprisingly enough, I found multiple reasons people have to go through wife training. So we are just going to go through a few of them. Because if there's more than one reason to do something, something must make sense and it must be helpful in a way, right? We will start at the most logical place for this topic, the Bible.
Christian women, it is not a suggestion to submit and obey our husbands. It's a requirement. It's a command given to us from the Lord. And for me, it transformed my marriage when I realized that I truly wasn't being submissive and I wasn't being respectful. And when I truly asked the Lord to help me do that and doing it a lot more and more each day, our marriage just gets sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. Things that I didn't like about him got better because of my submission and obeying him. Of course, I'm not perfect. We're growing in sanctification. But if your marriage is full of bickering and little arguments, respect your husband. Let things go. Submit to him. Respect his leadership and see how things change. You don't need to be in charge of everything. You don't need to always be the head of everything because we're not supposed to be. And that's biblical. That's what God said. Don't shoot the messenger.
Yes, don't ever talk back to your husband to keep the peace in the house. That sounds healthy. You know, if we are taking the Bible literally as commands, as the person in this video suggests, we also should be executing our disobedient sons and a lot of other, somehow even worse stuff. If you want to check the other things out, here's a nice website for you where I got this information from. Anyway, following the Bible as if it's a literal command is an incredibly bad idea. The entire idea of religion is okay. I think there are good lessons in the Bible, but taking it literally causes problems. Like in your relationship, and telling other people that you should obey your husband as if he's the boss is also a problem because it's actually incredibly dangerous. Because there are people in this world that become dangerous when they have power. Balanced power is a lot safer in any situation. I also simply don't think that this works unless both parties are incredibly into it. And in this case, I don't think that's the case. Literally because this video exists. Like, first she was saying that she was constantly bickering with her husband before the obedience thing, meaning that she had stuff all the time that she wanted to talk about or needed to. She had frustrations with her husband, which is okay, by the way. But if you have a lot of small disagreements together, it's very frustrating and that might mean that you just don't belong together. This video only exists because she decided not to disagree with her husband anymore, and now she's sharing that like it's some magic marriage advice. Like, if you have any frustrations, just don't say anything. It might save your marriage. This will cause everything to bottle up, which is incredibly stressful and therefore very unhealthy. And it might lead to some inner explosion at some point, which is also unhealthy for everyone involved. So it's better to just talk about your stuff. By the way, do you know who wrote the Bible? It's a group of men. I know men have their own Bible demands, but you never heard that they need to obey women. Speaking about men wanting power, I also found this video.
This is exactly how you train your girl. When you tell her to go do something, you tickle her. Say, go do the dishes. And then she's laughing while she's taking command and taking order. That's going to positively put in her mind, taking orders equals happiness.
This is exactly how you make someone run away as quickly as possible, I hope. This video sounds like a joke, but this man made multiple videos on his page where he explains that you should train your wife. So even if it's a joke, I don't really care, because it's not funny and it's framing women as less than men. This way of training is called behaviorism, or rather some weird reverse spin-off of behaviorism. Behaviorism is a thing that's used a lot to train dogs by associating a positive thing with a thing. Like ringing a bell and then giving your dog food means that the next time you ring a bell, if you've trained them to do that multiple times, the dog will know that he's going to get food and will therefore start acting like he's going to get food. Anyways, women are not dogs. You don't need to train them like a dog. You should not want that at all. And I sincerely hope that this guy learns to do the dishes by himself at some point. Tickling someone to get them to do a task that you feel is below you is incredibly degrading. He doesn't really explain why he thinks you should train your wife, so I will explain it to you. This man acts acts like an entitled teenager, and he wants to be treated like that, with someone in his life that he thinks is supposed to act like his mom, who he wants to train in a very manipulative and very annoying way. So he can boss this person around and sit around watching TV all day instead of acting like an adult and actually contributing to the household. It's again a weird male power thing, a distorted worldview, and something that would lead to an unbalanced power dynamic within a relationship. I highly doubt that anyone would want to be in a relationship with him after he said all of this, but still, spreading this on the internet is at the very least incredibly unhelpful. Wife training after you get married sounds like something that wouldn't really work, because then it's technically harder to get out of the relationship, so the wife might not accept the training in the first place because you're already married. But that's not a problem, because apparently you should learn how to be wife material before you get married anyways.
Let's talk about becoming a high value woman. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care what your title is at work. I don't care what your career is. It's all in here. Number one, girl, you gotta get your body right. This is probably the most important step, and let me tell you why. When people look at you, the first thing they see is your appearance. Okay? It's just natural human nature. And when people look at you and they see a fit body, they see someone who takes care of themselves, they see someone who respects themselves, and they see someone who has discipline. That first impression of you, like when you're at an event or when you're in public or when you're meeting somebody for the first time, their first impression of you, they're going to look at your body and they're going to subconsciously think, does this person have discipline? Do they work hard? Do they respect themselves enough to eat clean and to work out and to do those things for themselves? That's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect is how you are going to feel. You're going to feel so good about yourself, and you are going to show up better in the world because you love your body. You feel good because you're eating clean and you're working out. You're going to have more energy. There is so much that goes along with having a fit body.
Okay, so I know she said high value woman and technically didn't say anything about wife training or something like that. But amongst the 5 hashtags on this video, it says hashtag wife and hashtag high value wife. And this video came out when I searched for wife obedience training. So I think this video does belong in this conversation, because all of this highly suggests that doing the things in the video make you a high value wife. Anyhow, the first advice comes down to eating healthy and working out, because that supposedly makes you look disciplined. AKA people that don't look thin enough in the public eye are undisciplined. First of all, the internet gives people a very distorted look on what a healthy body looks like nowadays. This looks different for literally everyone and can also differ with age. Secondly, people might see this and might want to lose weight, because that's really what it's all about. And they might use the internet to figure out how to do that, because that's not explained in this video. I think that's a good thing. But anyways, the internet has very bad advice on this topic. It might redirect people to places such as Skinny Talk. And third, looking healthy is incredibly vague, and I'm just kind of questioning where disabled people fall on this line, and also just married people in general, because you're not going to look perfectly healthy every single day, every single time you see your spouse, because you can get sick or whatever, or some periods of time you just feel less well and then you go to the gym less or anything. This is just way too much pressure once you start thinking about it. Self-care is great and healthy, and the expectation really should stop there.
Number 2, read. I cannot reiterate that enough. When I was in my single phase and that time period where you're just kind of alone, like you're not going after guys, you're not hanging out with people, you're just really in your like lonely grind era, that's when I was reading a lot of self-help books. And I can do a reading list for you guys if you'd like. A lot of my wisdom comes from how many books I read and how often I'm reading. Like every single morning, it is a non-negotiable for me to wake up and go straight into my Bible first and then a book.
I agree that reading is very nice and that you should want to keep learning. I think more people should do that in this world. However, I don't think that it should be all self-help books. I'm not opposed to the idea of self-help books, but only reading them sounds incredibly depressing to me. And the way this is framed sounds like there is only value in self-help books, which is simply just not true. Fictional books have just as much value, and some fictional books are a lot better in even what you can learn about yourself after reading them than self-help books. And I also don't think you have to read every day. That's again too much pressure. You know what? You can read the Bible and self-help books all day, every day, but that doesn't automatically make you a better person. It is what you do with what you read after that. And if it only helps you to read way less, like a book a month or a book a year even, and that helps you, even if it's a fictional book, that's a lot better than reading every day just for the sake of reading and making yourself feel good that that you're reading. Like, not every book that you read obviously has to mean something to you, but reading only self-help books every morning to make yourself a better person, but not explaining how or even knowing how that works, is not helpful. So reading yes, pressure no.
Number 3, speaking of that single phase that I have, I think that it's so important for you at some point in your life to have a phase of loneliness and isolation. And not like a depressed, sad isolation, but just a phase where you are really working on yourself and you're getting to know yourself. Because girl, before that phase of loneliness, I would have not been ready to meet my husband. Like, I needed to grow. I needed to figure out who I was and what I wanted in life. So I really didn't hang out with friends much at all. I didn't really go out at all. It was kind of just me, like working out, working, and reading, and working on myself.
Surprisingly enough, I agree with this to a certain extent, but the isolation is not necessary. I was kind of forced to do this during COVID, and the isolation part was very sad, to say the least. I can tell you that much. Isolation is just bad for humans. We are not made for that. Exceptions exist, but you're probably not exception, and you don't even have to try it if you don't want to. I think again that this is putting too much pressure on yourself, because the truth is that getting to know yourself is a lifelong process, and you do that by making time to be alone with yourself, by journaling, by going to therapy and all that stuff. But taking a sabbatical of your friends is not going to do that automatically. That's just sad time. Thinking that it only takes that to know yourself for the rest of your life is incredibly delusional, actually.
So that goes right into number 4, delete the roster. And delete Snapchat if you need to. I had to do that for a little while. I just didn't want anybody to have contact with me. This was a mindset shift. Like, you really have to get into this mindset where you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to entertain anything. It's not happening. And that is when Noah came into my life. Like, that's when the right guy like swooped in, and it was not through Snapchat. I'm not talking down on Snapchat. I have it now to connect with like long distance friends. But when you're single, it's such a temptation.
Isolation is also not a magic spell to meet the love of your life. Never have I ever thought, oh, they are lonely, let's date them, because that's a green flag. It's actually a red flag to me if someone doesn't really want to put effort in finding friends or having friends in general. Because I want my partner to have friends that they know well and that they can talk about everything with, which means that I won't be a replacement for all of their mental load all the time. And it also means that they have a place to talk about me if necessary. Like, sure, it's better to talk together about your problems, but sometimes it's just nice to have a fresh pair of ears in the conversation, and great friends are nice for that. Anyhow, the rest of this video is basically more self-care and isolation recommendations, and reiterating how important alone self-care time is, which I agree with very much. My issue with this video is that this person is doing that for other people and for finding a husband, to be a better woman or wife or whatever. The only good reason to spend time with yourself for self-care is because it's necessary for your own mental health and for your own health in general, not for anyone else. All of these videos came up when TikTok recommended me to look for wife obedience training, so I did that, and then these videos came up, and all of these videos are about being a better woman for a man. I don't think this advice is made for lesbians, for example. Now, for the sake of research, I also looked up husband obedience training, because that's fair, and apparently that's a whole other rabbit hole. Like, most of these videos were women training their men to pay all the bills, which is also bad, by the way, but I didn't dive into that yet. I might do that soon, but that also exists, but it's different. And it was mostly women on that page, just like it is on the wife training page. So it's mostly women, except for this one man that we saw, but it's mostly women in this case online telling the people, the other women, how they should act to get a husband or to be a good wife to their husbands. I don't think you should want to train your spouse, and I also think that women should stop telling other women online that they need that training, and men should stop doing that too, because I'm not saying that they are not doing that, because we have seen a video of a man, and there are men on the internet also telling that you need to train your wife and whatever. But I found it interesting that the women themselves are also doing this. Like, hello, wake up. When did we stop wanting equal rights, equal voices in a relationship, or just talking up for your own needs? How many problems have existed from women not speaking up in the relationship because they simply didn't dare to, because they had to be too scared? And now we're telling women that they shouldn't speak up in the relationship and that that's totally okay. It's not. It's dangerous. in most cases. In some cases it might work, but we shouldn't think that that's going to work. And I know conservatism is on the rise and everything, and everyone is allowed to have their own opinion. But telling anyone that they have to submit to this role simply because they are a woman and they want to be a high value wife or woman or whatever is wrong and senseless. Thank you for watching. If you like my little video, please press the wonderful shiny like and subscribe buttons. And then I will see you next time. Ciao!